What the heck is shakshuka?
Well, every restaurant and cafe in Israel that you go to that has a breakfast or brunch menu will have shakshuka. In fact, there are some restaurants that only serve shakshuka on their menu.
It's a tomato sauce with amazing herbs and spices and poached eggs.
All you need is a nice chunk of warm fresh bread to dredge through it. I can't wait.
Oh, me either.
Shakshuka is a fairly straightforward recipe. We're gonna start by making our tomato sauce. We're using a Serrano pepper that has, let's say, medium spicy level. Jalapeno would be a bit less spicy. It is those white ribs that are giving us all the heat. So depending on what you like, leave some of them or take them off completely. In any case, we'll just cut it to thin slices. We'll slice the garlic to thin slices, about 4 or 5 cloves.
We have a red and an orange pepper, and we're gonna julienne them. Not too thin, not too thick.
And of course, we'll cut some onion, either half rings or lengthwise. Okay, we sliced all our vegetables, and now we're just gonna cut our parsley.
I'm gonna chop enough parsley to add to the tomato sauce.
Yeah, towards the end.
Totally. And also have enough for garnish at the end.
Are we done?
We're done.
Okay, let's head to the stove.
Let's go.
We're gonna cover our pan with some olive oil. It would be a good idea to turn on the stove.
It totally would. Thank you.
Make sure you don't let it smoke. And the first step would be to put the onion, garlic, and hot pepper. And I only used half of the pepper we cut because I'm feeding kids and people who don't really do well with spicy. So we're gonna be cautious on this. It's totally up to you. We'll give it a few minutes until the onion becomes somewhat translucent.
Right, because it will continue to cook in the tomato sauce.
So I think this will take about 4 or 5 minutes.
Just until things get soft.
Don't wait until everything is completely done. Add your peppers because they need to cook a little bit as well before we add the tomatoes. Looks beautiful already.
Super beautiful. You can use any color bell pepper you want. The red, yellow, or orange pepper have a really nice sweetness that will add to this dish. All right, we'll let that cook for a minute.
Before we continue, a quick word about the tomatoes. Traditionally, we would use fresh tomatoes, but in that case, you need to blanch them so you can peel them and then dice them or crush. But because we want to make this recipe quick and easy, I'm going to use canned whole tomatoes. Right here. Before we add the tomatoes, we're gonna add our spices, which would normally include paprika, cayenne, some coriander, maybe cumin. It really depends. Every shakshuka will taste a little different. We're gonna put a list of the spices we use in the description, but to make life even easier, we have a spice mix already made. Just check out our store for our Shakshuka spice mix. And about 2 tablespoons. There's a little bit of cayenne here, but it's not too overpowering. So don't worry about it being too spicy. As always, guys, you can put a little less and then adjust it as you're cooking the sauce and tasting.
Smells so good.
Now you can put diced tomatoes and you can put crushed tomatoes. It all depends on the texture you want to achieve. A lot of places would just use fresh tomatoes, but they would crush them before adding it to the pan.
But we like the dish a little heartier or more rustic or chunky.
Yeah, so we are adding a whole tomato. You can definitely do diced and kind of keep some of the texture in the dish.
I'm just chopping them up with my wooden spoon in the pan. A little bit of salt.
So we're gonna leave it on soft boil, a simmer, and we're gonna taste it in a few minutes and adjust all of these spices. So we just tasted our tomato sauce and it tastes delicious, but needs just a little bit of extra kick. So we're gonna add another tablespoon of our spice mix. Remember, guys, that other than the saltiness, the salt brings flavors together. If you put enough spices, but it just doesn't taste right, it could possibly just be the salt. I'm gonna give it a mix and we're gonna take a look in 10 minutes. All right, guys, the sauce is done and we're just gonna create these little dimples, just enough to hold the egg inside. I personally like to break the eggs individually. That way I make sure we don't have any shells inside. Because of the tomato sauce, it's gonna be extremely hard to extract them if we have any. So this is just my way of doing it. Uh-oh, I broke one.
Oh, man.
And you know what? We're gonna break our eggs once in a while, so it's totally fine. A little bit of salt on each egg, just like you would do with sunny side up.
Yeah, just like you would do with cooking eggs.
Add some black pepper if you want. Just be careful. Remember, we already have a lot of spices inside. And we'll cover this. And now you need to decide if you want your eggs runny, like I do, or you like them dry and fully cooked.
Like me.
That's it. So I would say anywhere between 5 to 10 minutes, and it would be totally fine to open the lid after 5 or 6 minutes and check if the eggs are to your liking, and then continue to cook or not. Danielle, it's time to check the shakshuka.
Let's go.
All right, let's take a look. Beautiful. So it's been about 8 or 9 minutes, so they're still runny. What Danielle just did with the knife is what I personally do before I start digging into my shakshuka. We're gonna give it a few more minutes with the top on. I think this is perfect.
Looks perfect.
Yeah, normally you wouldn't have a butchered egg here.
Or you may.
Or you may, and it's totally fine. We just wanted to show you the results after 8 minutes, and now I think it's been maybe 12 minutes into cooking, and they're...
Much more solid, but not runny eggs.
Yeah, let's put some garnish.
So the shakshuka is done, and I cannot wait to taste this.
All right,
Let's go.
I'm gonna take some of this egg.
Got some egg and some tomato.
I'm just gonna tell you guys, 2 minutes ago, Danielle thought that the eggs were too runny for her because she doesn't like runny eggs, but just those 2 minutes of staying in the sauce continued to cook the eggs. And as you can see, they're
pretty solid.
Well done. Take that into account depending on what kind of eggs you want. And Danielle is finishing the whole thing.
It's so good.
I'm gonna dig in with my fresh bread.
Do it, dredge.
So this is how you do it.
All right, I'll try that.
It's so good, and it's so messy sometimes. So just enjoy it, guys. These Mediterranean flavors are just incredible, and the food can be messy, which is part of the fun. You can find the recipe for the shakshuka in the description below.
And you can get our spice mix at shop.youdon'thavetobeachef.com.
That, and along with a bunch of other spice mixes that are just gonna make your life that much easier in the kitchen. So,
Shakshuka.
see you soon.